welcome. Today we want to talk about some test-taking tips. Now, there are literally hundreds of tips out there that we could go over, but I want to just focus on a few that I feel the best about in the time that we have. And I want to start with multiple choice, because that's really, for most of you that are watching this, the most common format of test that you'll take. Now, a common mistake on multiple choice is that students will jump into the answers before they've even finished reading the questions, and that's a huge mistake. And remember, by design, some multiple choice tests will say in the instructions, choose the best answer. When they say choose the best answer, that means that there's more than one right answer. There can be a good answer, and then there can be the correct answer. Well, you want to pursue strategies that lead you, obviously, to that correct answer. So in this first one, what we're simply saying, this first strategy, read the question fully and cover up the possible answers. Why in the world would you do that? Well, that gives you the opportunity to see what kind of an answer might formulate in your mind. And one will formulate in your mind based on your studying, maybe even based on some of the techniques that we talked about in some of the previous videos. So you read the question fully, you cover up the possible answers, and you go with your first impression. You allow yourself the opportunity, the time, to manufacture that gut instinct. And that'll serve you very well. So you read that question, you cover up the possible answers, allow yourself time to formulate that answer in your mind, and when it does formulate, even if it's indirect, uncover the answers and match up the closest thing on paper to what formulated in your head. That is a great way to eliminate a good answer from the correct answer. Secondly, use the rapid fire method, especially if you're one of those that flip-flops, that is wishy-washy, that inevitably changes correct answers to incorrect ones. You think too much about it, and you spend way too much time on one question. Remember, most of these tests are timed, so you really don't have that luxury. So you read the question fully, you read the answers, you pick one, you move on, you don't go back. That's very hard for some people to do, but in some studies it's shown a 10 to 15% increase on a 0 to 100 point scale, which that's huge. And so you're not going back, you're not changing answers, you're going with that gut impression, that first impression. You're reading the questions, reading the answers, picking one, moving on, not going back. Not for everybody, but again, very well suited for those that have just a hard time making up their minds. A third strategy is to watch for qualifier words. With many types of exams, essay, true, false, multiple choice, there's certain words you can commit to memory. And knowing the meaning of those words, knowing what's being asked for, knowing how they're defined, can be half the battle. So in multiple choice, if you see words, for example, such as never and only, those are absolutes. Very few things in life are absolute, so I'd stay away from statements, possible answers that contain those words. Also, always try to work easy to more difficult on multiple choice. Again, you're typically in timed format, you're trying to accumulate as many points as possible in a given amount of time. Don't spend an extraordinary amount of time struggling with one particular question. It may only be worth 3 or 4 points. You jeopardize getting to the questions that you do know and totaling those points. So always work easy to more difficult. There's always the benefit in taking that approach for those people, especially with test anxiety. When you answer questions that you know, and there's usually some gimme questions on there, maybe directly off of a review, for example, but there's some that you will know. When you answer questions that you know, you start to relax, and relaxation is such a key to combating test anxiety. So, as you're doing this, you start to relax and things start to unlock, and that will help you with the more difficult questions. So in most instances, you want to save the most difficult questions for last. So you may skip around a little bit on the test and flag some things that way. Now, for true-false, you've always heard it said there's a 50-50 shot on true-false. Not really. There tends to be more true answers as opposed to false answers. Two primary reasons for that. First, instructors should be much more interested in teaching you what is true as opposed to what is false. And secondly, it's easier to construct a true question as opposed to a false question. I found that out when I used to construct questions when I was a full-time teacher. So kind of had to watch myself on that. So, you know, I hate to say this, but if you absolutely had to guess, odds are with you to guess true. Okay, so I really don't think it's 50-50. There's also, as I said earlier, qualifier words you can commit to memory. For example, if you see the words always, only, and never, statements tend to be false. If you see words such as often, some, usually, I would pick true. Again, some qualifier words that you can commit to memory. Some of them are what we again define as absolutes. And so very few things in life can be defined as absolute. Now on essays, you know, and over the years when I was teaching full-time, I had so many students that would verbalize their struggles with essay questions. Look, knowing what is being asked for is half the battle. There's about 20 key essay words we can provide you that you need to know. They'll serve you very well. What's the difference between compare and contrast? Trace and outline, describe and discuss. Those words are not interchangeable. When instructors are putting these words into essay questions, they're asking for very specific types of information. And so, you know, you could commit these words to memory. Let me give you a quick example. What's the difference between compare and contrast? If you were in one of my former government classes and I said compare the New Jersey plan and the Virginia plan, or I said contrast the New Jersey plan and the Virginia plan, you may answer the question the same way, whether it's the word compare or the word contrast. Well, I'm asking for different things. Compare, you would want to put similarities and differences between the two plans, so you would want both. If you only gave me one or the other, you get half credit. And this is why students will think they've just knocked it out of the ballpark only to find out that they've been penalized in some form or fashion. If I use the word contrast, I'm just looking for the differences, the dissimilarities. So if you put the similarities in there also, it might be correct, but you're giving me information that I didn't ask for. Some instructors will count off for that. So again, knowing the key words, that's half the battle. You have to know what is being asked for. Also with essays, make sure that you don't just start writing cold. Do a quick outline. That'll save you a lot of rearranging, a lot of time. So always do an outline. Always follow a proper writing format of introduction, body, and a conclusion. Your English faculty, feel free to approach them. Ask them about the mechanics of this. What exactly goes into an introduction? How many paragraphs ideally would you have in a body? What's a conclusion? How does a conclusion differ from the introduction? And so, you know, you've got to have proper mechanics there. One long conglomerated paragraph is not, is not an essay, and nor is, 3 sentences do not constitute an essay. So, follow that format: introduction, body, conclusion. Know those key words. Scratch out a quick outline. Those are the keys to approaching an essay. Thank you very much.